Hello friends, in this video of our short lecture series, I am going to discuss about equations of motion. As we know, there are three equations of motion, but there is something else to learn about them. So let's start. To understand this, the basic consideration is that we have an object O. This object starts with an initial velocity u and then it covers some space with a uniform acceleration a. After this region, its velocity becomes v, which we call as the final velocity. In this journey, this object O is displaced by a quantity s and it took a time t. This is basically the scene in which we are going to put our equations of motion. Now, what are our equations of motion? You must have studied in your classes that v is equal to u plus at is your first equation of motion, s is equal to ut plus half at square is your second equation of motion, and v square equal to u square plus 2as is your third equation of motion. So I can write them as equation number 1, equation number 2 and equation number 3. These three equations are necessary to explain this scenario. The scenario in which the object starts with initial velocity u, acceleration a, ends up at final velocity v, s is the displacement and t is the time taken in this displacement or to achieve this final velocity v. Now, the major question is why we need three equations, or in what way these equations are designed. That's why we need to make these three equations. Otherwise, in your books you must have studied that from the first equation, using some special conditions, you derive second or third equation. So if you can derive second and third equation, then what is the need of these equations? And one more question, why not there are more than three equations? Basically, when I was reading these equations, so this question came to my mind at that time. But it took me approximately 2 years to figure out what is the reason behind that. The reason is quite simple, but the problem is whether you are able to look at it or not. And if you understand this, I am sure it will be very easy for you to solve your numericals using these three equations. Many students get puzzled between three and they don't know which one to apply, so they end up with hating physics. But let's see how can we remove this problem and understand why we need three equations. First, if you look at this scenario carefully, you will see that we have some quantities like u, v, a, s and t. So there are 5 quantities we have in this scenario, and if you look at these equations carefully, you will find that u and a are like initial conditions. It means that u and a are compulsory to solve any of these equations, but v, s and t are systematically arranged in three equations. If you look at it carefully, you will find that s is absent from the first equation. If you look at second equation, you will find that v is not present in the second equation and t is not present in the third equation. Just to learn this, I am calling this as sweet equations. In first equation s is missing, second equation v is missing, and in third equation t is missing. So because they are missing, I am putting a cross sign on them. Let me erase this to avoid confusion. Now If S is missing, then you can say that first equation gives you relation between V and T, second equation gives you relation between S and T, and the third equation gives you a relation between V and S. This is the design of these equations, and you can remember this design by just calling them sweet equations. SVT, S is missing, V is missing and T is missing from these equations. Now let us look at how to solve a numerical using this understanding. Let us move to our second page. Let us consider a random example. An object is left from a height h from the ground. Obviously its initial velocity is 0. Acceleration is equal to acceleration due to gravity. And now if in numerical you are asked that what is its final velocity v just before hitting the ground. So you will see that we have displacement in this, u and a are also given and v is also there, but t is missing from this numerical. So without having a second thought, SVT, third equation is applicable in this scenario to solve the value of v when h is given. This is simple. Now consider they don't ask for v, they ask for what is the value of t, the time to travel from this position to this. Now when there is no space for v, the same question will be solved by SVT, the second equation. And in the third case, consider they don't provide you this quantity h, but just give you this is t and this is like 2 seconds and find out the value of v. In that case, you know S is missing, SVT, the first equation will give you the solution. So this is the way we should understand these equations of motion. Hope you like this video. If you have any query in understanding this concept, you can leave a comment and also tell me whether you like these short lecture videos or not. Keep learning, stay healthy, take care, have a good day.